Welcome to today's episode of the Small Business Enterprises with myself and Jamie Heaslip. Today we're delighted to be joined by none other than Tommy Bowe. Everybody will know Tommy, so not much of an introduction to be needed. I don't know why I feel like I'm a bit of an outsider in this triangle here at the moment with no rugby experience. But anyway, we'll try to see how we get on. We'll keep the rugby to a minimal. Tommy, before we get in, congratulations on the baby. How old's the baby now?
He's 12 weeks.
12 weeks,
Jamie Bowe, yeah. Named
Jamie
after
Bowe.
that famous rugby player, Jamie Roberts.
Good old Jamie Roberts. Jamie, you're never going to hear the end of this.
He was only dying for it,
Yeah, well, to be fair, anybody who's asked me about it has been going, is it inspiration Jamie Heaslip? And it's made me want to change the name, to be fair. But I couldn't change it to Gordon. Imagine Gordon Darcy. There's very few names out there without rugby players, so I'll be struggling.
Oh, brilliant.
And actually with Bowe, it's even harder because you have Dickie Bowe, which will be Richard. You have Harry Bowe, which of course is the Sweets. You have Colin Bowe.
Harry Bowe would have been brilliant.
You have Wayne Bowe. Bowe is a hard name for a boy.
we could change this. We could change this interview series to baby names to help people put their names together for their kids.
Listen, that's a business idea, to come up with a good name for your kids. There you go.
Yeah, you give us your surname, we give you the best suitable first names. Look, Tommy, thanks a million for coming on. I much appreciate it. I know, obviously, from a lockdown point of view, it must be difficult with a newborn, but can we just go, suppose it all happened together though, so the baby was born a week before lockdown. So can we take a look at life after retirement? You retired 2 years now, wasn't it? From
2 years,
2 years.
Yeah, pretty much.
Obviously, you've been very, very busy on TV. You've been very busy from a business point of view with the closed shoe ranges. So can you take us up to business life up towards lockdown and what it was like to adjust maybe, or before we even get the adjustment part?
Well, it's been hectic. You know, I'm very fortunate since retiring. I kind of made my own decision when I wanted to retire, which gave me a perfect platform to be able to move fairly smoothly from finishing rugby to go into the real life. And I got into working with Air Sport to be the host of their show for the Pro 14, which was an incredible opportunity for me because most players go straight into the punditry role, and that was an area that I felt very comfortable at, but I wanted to try and push myself to try and learn to see if I can give myself the challenge of being the presenter and learn how to throw to breaks and to open up questions, to open up conversations. So that was been a real learning curve for me since retiring, and it gives me that real buzz. You will never get the buzz of running out onto the Aviva Stadium or scoring a try against Leinster in the RDS. It didn't happen too often.
There's a bad line. There's a bad connection, Tommy. Sorry, we didn't get that piece, did we, Jamie?
We better cut that part out.
Yeah.
But see, when you're about to go on air and they're in your ear and they give you a countdown 3, 2, 1, it's an incredible buzz. So that's given me the buzz that you need when rugby finishes. And then from the business point of view, the shoes are actually gone into their 10th year this year. lloydandpryce footwear, it's our 10th year.
Wow.
And 15 Kings is our 7th, 8th year. So we're in over 200 stores all over the country of Ireland. And business up until coronavirus has been going really well. But literally as soon as baby Jamie arrived, everything has shut down. And it's been a real shock to the system for me personally from a business point of view. And I suppose for the world, as we all know.
And Tommy, just before we get into COVID, so can you talk me through the 10 years and the 8 years then? Is an association or brand? So, because I'm going to be honest in this, I don't know from when you finish, most players, when they finish their careers, they obviously roll on to different businesses and develop. Yeah. You seem to do it quite early in your career then, obviously 10 years ago. So what was the link in? How did it happen? Or what was your involvement in the company or the brand? Was it much? Was it a small scale? Did you up it then after retirement? Or just talk us through that if you don't mind.
So as a player, I always felt it was important to have something outside of sport. I needed a release. So I studied construction engineering. I did a postgrad in business management. So I always had something going on alongside actually playing. And then 10 years ago, I was actually at the Ospreys. At the time, it was towards the end of 2009. Two brothers from Monaghan who were involved in the footwear industry, you know, they're friends with a friend of mine. They approached me, said that they're thinking about launching a new footwear brand, and they wanted to know if I wanted to come on board with it. Now, a lot of players I know had got involved in bars and cafes and restaurants. Jamie is one of them in recent years, but footwear was nothing that I knew about, but it was business and I was interested in it and was different. And I've always tried to do something a little bit different. So at the start, it was very much about just put my name to it and trying to promote it. But then 2 or 3 years later, that's where I approached them about trying to take on the clothing, and something I wanted to get a lot more hands-on in and involved in design, because it's hard to know the shoe game, you know, to see the trends. I'll give you an example. When we first started off, we had 15 different styles. Now, on that first range, there were maybe 3 or 4 that I thought were going to be great sellers, and the rest of them wouldn't sell. So I took them into Ireland camp. There were 30 players, and I offered them all one pair. And I said, right, lads, all pick a pair, and I'll give, and put your size, and I'll bring them in. So I thought 3 or 4 of the pairs to be picked, and that would be it. But 14 of the 15 styles got picked. Wow. And that blew me away, because that showed 30 guys who are all quite similar backgrounds, similar sports people, all had such different tastes. And that's something that really, that hit me, and that's something that I've learned as the years have gone on.
Right, very good. So testing the product, rule number 1. Very good.
Well, that's it.
And then, so you got to the end. So you end the playing career, you retire, and then you get back into the clothes part, or the clothes business. With the same 2 brothers, obviously, so you just expanded the range from footwear and the clothes. And how did you find that, Tommy? How was hanging up the boots, they say, and getting into something like that so different, like, and how much time did it consume?
But do you know, Paul, when I was playing, every Wednesday I had off, or every Saturday or Sunday, I was on the road. I was down visiting shops. I was down in the warehouse in Monaghan in the evenings. We were looking at different brands that emailed me through. So it wasn't a huge difference in what I was doing, but the big thing is it's easy to be the face of a brand when you're a professional rugby player, because, you know, professional rugby player, whether you're playing for Ireland or not, you're still kind of seen as a rugby player. But when you retire, you're just another retired rugby player. So you have to try and keep yourself out there. And it's very important for me to be, you know, get down to the shops. And, you know, I could be going to Newcastle West and Tralee and West Galway up to Sligo, Ballybuffet, to just visit the shops, check how the products are going. And I think that face-to-face contact is something the likes of a Tommy Hilfiger and a Superdry and a Gant, they can't offer that. And they're the brands that we're competing against.
Well, very good. Brilliant.
Tommy, and with that,
listen,
like, I mean, with face-to-face obviously being a big part of the business, you know, how has, you know, COVID hit, you know, that business? I mean, it's pretty obvious that there's no sport on TV right now. So, you know, that you're not being able to broadcast shows, and hopefully that will come back. But what about the retail business? Because there's so many stores out there that you must have been dealing with. And was it 200 stores you said? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you know, what's the feedback you're getting from them? And how are you all trying to work together to try and, you know, help them out through this?
Well, it's something that I tried to do from the very start of the lockdown, because retail and the high street is an area that's been hit so hard before this coronavirus. So through Retail Excellence Ireland, who are kind of the board for all the shops, I've been trying to offer my support to them. I've been talking to the Finance Minister, Heather Humphreys, to try and offer some support and see if I can try and maybe not lobby for the shops, but even try to push the government to try and help out the shops, because, you know, the high street is struggling. It has been struggling for a long time, and certainly this coronavirus, with the strength that Amazon and online has got, and these big companies, it's going to be even more difficult. But personally, I believe that the shops, and there is a real push to local. I mean, I know personally, instead of being going to the Tesco's and the Aldi's, I've been going down to the local butchers and the bakery and the delicatessen and picking up my food every week, because I feel it's nice to get that personal touch. And I do believe that when this lockdown finishes next week and in the coming weeks, that there will be an opportunity for people to get into shops. It's just, you know, people want to be able to get out there and to get that personal touch and a friendly smile again. So I've been trying to talk to the retailers, see how they're going with it. But of course, you know, they've been closed down for a long time with no money coming in. It's been incredibly difficult for them.
And Tommy, do you guys do online, or what's from a distribution point of view, and how are you handling that with your retailers if you do?
We do online, Paul, but we don't push it.
Yeah.
If the shops say Greens, which would be one of the big shoe shops in Galway, they have a couple of different shops. They have quite a good online store. McElhinney's, there's quite a few of them push their products online. We can sell online, but then we're taken away from those independent stores.
And Joe, a fair play to Tommy, because that's something we spoke about that before, myself and Jamie, another guest. It's hard when you're supplying shops and they're going through COVID-19, which is obviously a disaster for you then to say, oh, well, I can just go online and, you know, sell direct to the public, because it will ruin relationships. It have to piss people off, I suppose, really, you know, it would me. You know.
That's it. I mean, there's no point in, if you go into Best Menswear in Dublin and you try on a shirt and they don't have the medium, but they say, listen, we'll have it in for you tomorrow, but you could just go online and buy it online off us. It kind of takes away from the sale from them. We're trying to create a good product for these shops to be able to sell, an Irish product that they can sell that is competing with these big worldwide brands, and it's fun. You know, it's tough to come up against these brands, but I think that the shops appreciate it, and certainly the feedback I get from it is brilliant, but it's brutally honest too, because it's a tough world out there.
Yeah. And have you seen any kind of innovative ways that shops are trying to adapt, Tommy, to what's going on? I know we talk about online and you guys want to support the companies by not really leaning too hard into that, but have you seen anything from the shops that you've been talking to?
Yeah, like say you have EJ's Menswear, Sligo, who would have a really big following on the likes of Facebook and Instagram and stuff. They'd be doing live shows with Tomas O'Shea, interviewing Gaelic football stars Shane Lowry, and trying to drive people to their website. You have other shops like Scanlon's, who are very prominent on Instagram. But actually, the one that I think's been really impressive and I hear is doing really well, it's just a small shop, a ladies' shop, Wild Pear in Tralee. Joanne and can't remember the lady's name, but they're just putting pictures up on Facebook and just with their phone number underneath and just saying, you know, girls, guys, this is a lovely pair of shoes. What do you think? And people are just picking up the phone, calling it, and get sent. So it's almost the more simple, you know, as opposed to having to go through a website and go through this. They're just picking up the phone, calling it, and getting it delivered. So people want simple at this stage. I think that the way women shop is very different to the way men shop. And certainly, I don't know about you, Jamie, but I don't think many men have been gone out to go and buy new shirts and jeans, whatever else at the minute, because they don't need it. But hopefully when this all finishes and people start to go back to work, they will have to kind of update their wardrobe a bit.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned Facebook as well, because they brought out that kind of online shop format now to compete with the likes of Amazon and that, and try and help SMEs and small retailers, because kind of, you know, Amazon are definitely stealing or not helping. They're not helping kind of, you know, high street shops like you said. But it's great to see that they're at least leaning into it, these shops, because I think there is a trend. We've talked to a lot of people around communities and buying local and supporting local. And I think it's a trend that will hopefully continue long after kind of lockdown has kind of loosened up. But it's interesting, like that what we're trying to spot here is the commonalities. And one thing that we notice a lot of, and it started out actually in the fashion industry, is collaborations. And I'm wondering if have you seen any interesting collaborations, or have been approached even, but interesting collaborations with in the retail world?
Listen, there's lots of collaborations with Comme des Garçons and Nike, or Puma, these big brands that are able to do these cool with an artist and kind of put their picture on the front of a Converse shoe. Of course they're able to do that. But I think in the retail world, it's going to be very much a case of small shops helping each other. They're all in this together. So one shop who's on the high street, it's about trying to promote going to the shop next door. And it's, these guys would have been very dog eat dog, I'm sure, in years gone by. They're all trying to fight for that bit of business. But now it's an important time for them to try and stick together and trying to find that collaboration that they can all help each other, because online is difficult. It's making it hard for these shops, but I still think that people love, online will always be, it's going to get bigger and bigger, but I think there's always going to be that, people always want to go to their local town and visit their local shop, because these are families, these are people that they know. This is, somebody whose son is in your son's class, and I think there's that kind of relationship value. And also around Ireland, DPD are going on about how many parcels that they've sent out. But I mean, of course they have, because 18,000 shops haven't been open. So of course they're going to be selling loads. But I think that, the delivery service isn't quite as good as it could be. So people want to just go and get a shirt for the weekend. So,
Tommy, that's come up with a couple of people. This is our 4th or 5th interview, and, dealing from Bujo Burgers to Cali Foods with Tom Gannon. We've had 3FE on, we've had Colin 3FE. And that whole DPD thing, we don't seem to have cracked the infrastructure around logistics in this country, because there's a lot of failures happening in that system, and people are nearly hesitant to put their brand to it now. Like, Granny's interview spoke about how Bujo could nearly have gone nationwide, but didn't really, because they couldn't rely on burgers getting to the destination on time, and that was going to destroy their brand. So I think that may be fantasy that online is great at distribution. I don't think we're set up for it almost. Or maybe, sorry, not us, TBD or Post or whoever's going to be looking after delivery service. I think that people forget about that a lot, It's good. It's good. You're right. It's great to get people back.
Forget about the cost as well, Paul, don't they? They forget about the cost involved in it, because and the experiences around it as well. Like Tommy, you talked a lot about trying to work with these local people who, their families are integrated into communities, you know what I mean? And there's an experience when they go to the shop. You talk about face to face. You do have that disconnect then and you don't control that end part of the experience, essentially, which is really, really important when, you're trying to establish your, like, that 1,000 true fans kind of strategy, I think.
Yeah, well, I think that the big shops, the big retailers, I think, are going to struggle the most with this. I think the small retailers will actually come through quite well, the good operators, because, they know what works for them. They know that they have the same clientele and people coming in. And I think that exactly the whole distribution side of DPD and on post and stuff, there is definitely scope for these retailers and shops all over the country. It's not just clothes and shoes. It's, local laundrettes, it's going to be restaurants and bars, all this. So it's a big, I mean, if you think about it, retail amounts for 1 in 10 people employed in Ireland. I mean, which is a huge figure. Now that includes the likes of the Tesco's and these big superstores, but then you have the delivery drivers, you have then the manufacturers. So if the government and all let,
it's well, that's it. Back to everybody, really,
So if the government let all the shops and the high street fail, then there's going to be a knock-on way down the chain, because if they've given massive grants to manufacture, but if manufacturers are making all this stuff but they've no one to sell it, it's not much good. So
and Tommy, what would you like to see happen then, I suppose, from the point of view of speaking to the Excellent Ireland and all these different bodies, or even talking to the government officials? What would you like? What would you think would help them? Like, as in, it's okay, you can throw cash at it, but is there anything else, or is there any?
Well, they need to throw cash at it. That's really it. I mean, they're being offered loans, and I know Flender there are offering great rates on loans, I'm sure, but as a 0% loan is great for 6 months, but then it goes to 4.5%. So, I mean, normally, when you take a loan, you buy a new van, so your distribution is better, or your refit your shop. I mean, they're getting nothing for this loan. I mean, they need liquidity, because certainly in the retail and clothing game is that, like, the last couple of months they'll have had no profit. So when it comes to August, when we bring in our autumn winter collection to the shops in August, September, they're going to have no money to pay for it. And then when it gets to, if they don't have a great Christmas, how are they going to pay for their spring summer range? So I think the government need to try and offer more grants. I know they've been given startup grants, maybe 5 grand. That's to cover PPE
the
and
commercial
Perspex
rates, though.
screens.
They have something in the commercial rates, isn't it, where you can claim back on your commercial rate that was paid already, which is a small start, I suppose. But you're right, they just need to flood them with cash now at this stage and help them get over it and help them to be able to get stock in and continue, because it only takes, that's only like a 3 or 4 month period. But you're right, Tommy, if they don't have enough cash, or they're nervous about buying in new stock and customers stop coming because you get the newer stock in the bigger centres are going direct online to whether it's a competitor of yours. The Christmas is going to be a disaster, and that's it. It's game over. It's very close to the edge for them.
The shops will all reopen again. There's no doubt about that, because they've all had a rate holiday. They've had no VAT. They've had their employees being looked after. So they will actually all be looked after okay. But they've had no money, so they'll make no margin, or very little margin. They'll have to go on sale to just try and clear stock. So it's going to be difficult times, but it's not as if retailers are the only ones in this situation. Everyone is in this situation. It's unprecedented times, but I think that we're not going to see the knock on for another at least 6 months to a year to 18 months. You know.
Yeah. No, I think. I didn't realize I was speaking to you about the autumn collection into the Christmas, and how crucial that would be for so many of the retailers, that if they don't get 2 good periods or 1 good period, it could really crucify them after this. So Tommy, you're looking for, sorry, not you're looking for, but you're suggesting, or we're all suggesting more cash for these guys to help with their businesses, which is easier said than done. But in fairness, government can borrow money as well from Europe at practically 0% now as well. So you think some kind of common joint up thinking should be able to source income or source funds at 0% from Europe and distribute them out. But I always find that every time you try to do anything innovative like that, it just falls flat on its face. It's very frustrating. But maybe this is different. Maybe from the pandemic point of view, with good people kind of lobbying together and trying to make these decisions, the money will trickle down. But like I said,
look at this, Paul, right? So if I live in Belfast here at the minute, I'm from Monaghan, but we deal with shops in Newry, and then you're dealing with another shop that's 6 miles away in Dundalk, right? In Newry, they got a grant into their account of £25,000, where just straight into their account, where the shops in Dundalk, which is 5 minutes away, got nothing. Maybe gets 5 grand. So it's a different, you're talking about just 5 minutes away, and the shops in the north have been given either £10,000, depending on the rateable value, to £25,000. So, the shops in the south are at a disadvantage if they're trying to compete with those in the north. And of course, the furlough scheme in the north as well. I don't know whether that's seen as better or not either.
And so they got I'm sorry, give me what was it based on? The rates? Was it the rates they paid already again?
So if you have a rateable value, I think of it as over £15,000, I think it is, if you got £25,000 grant put straight into your account. And a lot of these shops, I know, I was speaking to them, they didn't even know where this money had come from. It just literally, they didn't have to apply for it.
Yeah, so helicopter finance, a helicopter money just landed in their account. But that needs to happen, I suppose, or it's happened up the north.
Now, again, I've spoken to Heather Humphreys about this. This money just doesn't come from trees either. It is difficult for the government to try and keep everybody happy, but that's the kind of difference that you're dealing with in this one island. Yeah,
and actually, you know what? I would have always thought that we would have been ahead of the north in relation to that type of stuff. So I'm actually quite surprised to hear the north being that proactive in relation to getting money into businesses' accounts and small business especially. So it's great. Hopefully we can take something from it. Tommy, in relation to what's next in relation for the business for you then, on the back of COVID-19, what are you doing? So obviously I presume once the country opens back up again and it's free movement, that you'll be in stores, you'll be helping them, and you'll be having a chat with them. But what are you guys doing yourself in relation to your own company? Are you still manufacturing? Are you still importing? What's going on behind the scenes?
So we're having to do Skype chats with the likes of the factories for shoes in Portugal, and they're having to show us pictures of the shoes for next spring/summer collection because, of course, we can't get over there. It's made it difficult because we're trying to give the shops a good product because they're under pressure. They need to have good product to be able to sell. So yes, for us, from our point of view, the autumn winter collection is pretty much on its way. The shops have already put in their orders. So we think it's going to be a really strong collection for them. And I hope that the demand will be there for it. And then, of course, into spring, summer next year, we're trying to get the factories are all dying to get stuff up and going again. So, but it's all been kind of over Skype and chatting and trying to give them ideas of designs that we want and keep it going from there. But it is difficult.
Do you see that changing now going forward? You see more Skype meetings and Zoom meetings and more rather than jumping on a plane to Portugal, or is it because it's a tangible product? Like obviously it's a shoe or a short term, you need to see it in the flesh, or would you think you're going to scale back on that now? Or
I think it's easier in the fact that you can click up your laptop and you can be talking to you on the phone here and then show them a picture. So you can, where when you're in the actual showroom looking through stock, it's hard to, you're very focused on that. So in one area it is brilliant, but I think still being on the ground will give you that competitive advantage as well.
Yeah, very good.
You can't feel the fabrics and that sort of stuff.
So more trips to Portugal, just as a newborn arrives straight out to Portugal for a week to fit.
But you know what?
a week of sleep.
This is the problem, because when I was a player, it was so difficult to get out to visit the factories. So that's something I've actually enjoyed since retiring, is having more time to be able to go out and get involved in that side of things too, which has been
Yourself
good.
and Jamie are free now come September to go which if you want, just to try on a few clothes, a few models for you if you want.
Lads, it's all work. None of that partying lifestyle that you two are mad for.
Very good. So Tommy, look, in relation to then from COVID-19 and the retail, we've gone through what the retailers are doing. So obviously using Facebook more, Instagram more, trying to get their sales. Hopefully there will be some more government grants coming their way, and hopefully be a way for them to be able to stay in existence over the next 6 months is really important, isn't it? This is like a lifeline they have now, is 6 months. So something really quick has to be done. And what do you think then, like after COVID-19, can you see people's habits change though? Because what I'd be fearful for, some people are promoting the fact that, like, my mum and dad are using Zoom. My mom's buying shopping online, which she never would have done in her life. And, I won't tell them what age they are because she'll actually shoot me if I give her age out on the internet. But let's just say she's that age bracket where you wouldn't expect her to be doing stuff like this. So do you see those habits changing for retailers, and the retailers have to adapt even more on the back of COVID-19? Are you concerned? Because you're obviously you've got a pulse of the retail industry, Tommy, from your experience now. You've got a good understanding. So are you concerned? I would be slightly concerned, to be honest, in relation to how habits have changed and how people's habits. But maybe from a small town point of view, you mentioned people are trying to get back in and communicate and talk to the person and buy their stock, hopefully.
Listen, I think cities are different, obviously, as well from out in the country. But yeah, there's definitely going to be habits changed. I mean, my dad has got onto Amazon to buy parts for his lawnmower. Do you know what I mean?
I thought you were going to say shoes there. So I get
no, he wouldn't dare. He wouldn't dare. But so everybody's going to be buying stuff online, and Amazon and online is great for buying odd bits and pieces like that. But me personally, from a clothing point of view, like my wife buys all her clothes online. I mean, we have stuff arriving all the time, and it drives me mad. But she'd buy 2 tops in pink and 2 tops in blue and send, try them all on and send 3 back. So, think of how much money they're losing by sending free postage and packaging and free postage and packaging back again.
Actually, I was speaking to somebody on Post about this, Tommy, and Post are making a killing on the back of their returns.
Yeah.
So that's where on Post pick up more money. Like, the profit margin was ridiculous on this. I can't remember what it was, but it made a massive portion of their profit is the returns back. As you said, women are buying 2 or 3 in different things and then refunding them, and the retailer has to pay for that return. So it's not as simple as it may seem.
And think about the shops then. They have to employ someone then to take it all in, repackage it, check that it hasn't been worn again, put it back into the warehouse again. That costs money as well, particularly if you're doing huge volumes, the likes of, say, an ASOS and this.r. So yeah, I think that online is super, but it's kind of a bit of a race to the bottom, because somebody might buy it. The difference between buying a t-shirt and another t-shirt, it might make over 10 cents because it's 10 cents cheaper. I don't think, it is very much about those small margins. So I still think that there will always be space for good independent stores around the country. I think that the Irish people love it. I think we're different from the UK. I think the UK is very much about big brands and chains. It's kind of like America. But I think Ireland love that personal touch, and the good operators, the good shops there'll always be a place for them.
Yeah, actually, I must say, when we go away, if Sarah go away anywhere in the country, like if we're down to Kilkenny or down to Galway or something like that, we always go in and buy or shop. And it is a different experience than living in Dublin, and having your Dundrum and going in. There's just no spirit in the place at all. Like, there's brand everywhere. When you go in, they're so, not say friendly or being smart, but it's a different buying experience, and it is nice. It's something that will hopefully stay and hopefully be around for a long time, even after, hopefully.
And another thing, Paul, I think will help is the fact that people will now not commute to Dublin as much. I think that a lot more people, I know so many people in Monaghan, where I'm from, who travel 2 hours on a Monday, or nearly travel every day up and back to Dublin to work, where people have seen these meetings work, so they can actually stay at home. So that means that if they stay at home, they might hopefully shop at home, which will save.
That's a brilliant point.
I think that's the trend, Tommy. That's going to really happen. It's going to swing back. Like, we're not going to say it's going to swing completely back to everyone working from home, but it's going to swing back to a certain point where they're going to be at home a lot more, and you're going to see people shop local a lot more. And I think that's where, to your point, the smaller, really good operators will be able to kind of leverage that and really show the value of what they can bring to the table. And I think it's a great one. If I'm honest, I actually think that's a great one to end on, because like that idea of buying local, buying Irish, it's a different type of experience that you get from going to these big shopping centres. And they have their place too, right? But I think with this whole trend of working from home going to continue long into the future, that's where, the local store, be it your grocer, your deli, your bakery, like you were saying, Tommy, or your local clothes shop, that's where the real value is going to be for them going forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, you're right, Jamie. I think you're dead right in that. And I think if anyone's watching, when people, anyone, someone watches this interview, when people watch this interview back, please, hello. Sarah, my wife, will watch it anyway. I'll make her watch it. No, but no, what I'm saying was that if you're watching this video, if you watch this back a video and you can take the time to shop local, make a decision, and even as Tommy has said already, it's about the butcher, the delicatessen, picking up a scone somewhere, doing something different than you probably would have done in the past. It's going to be great. We were actually thinking we had a holiday book for this summer. I think we can actually probably still go by the looks of things over Spain, but even Sarah was saying, look, we're really going to have the holiday in Ireland this year, just to support Irish. Yeah, I think you have to, it's going to be maybe a photo island or back down to Centre Parks, to do something with the kids in Ireland rather than going away, to kind of help that tourism, to give it a kick. So I think you have to put, actually I will say this, the green jersey, since I'm speaking to you two guys, that green jersey on for the year, and maybe making sure that money stays in this economy rather than leave it, because it's going to be vital, isn't it, really? Like, it's going to be a massive blood supply for that retail, any part of the economy to really remain robust.
Listen, everybody needs it, and I think there is a lot of support for shop local, but actions speak louder than words and all these things. And I think that as soon as things open up next week and in the coming weeks and months, and people feel safe to leave their house and to go and visit these shops, it is important that we're a small island. We look out for each other, and it is a case of helping out those who we feel need. And I think this whole thing has shown us that a bit of kindness is being more important than ever. In the world that we're in at the minute, going and doing your shopping for your next door neighbor, or checking that somebody's okay, or checking in on your parents. Kindness, it goes a long way, and I think that that's something that we'll take out of this period.
Yeah, no,
You're dead right, Tommy.
Dead right. Tommy, listen, that was great. Pleasure to have you on with us, and I really do appreciate it. Just before you go, who'd you name the baby after again? Don't mind me asking.
Lads, we don't need to go there, right? We don't need to go there. Right?
On that note, Tommy, it's an absolute pleasure, gent. Great to see you.
Cheers, guys.
And we'll chat to you soon. Thanks a million. We'll see you later.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Tommy.
Bye-bye.